The year is 52 BCE. In the gray morning mist, cooking fires burn above a damp, muddy island. This is Lutetia. Looking at this map of the Seine, we see the river meandering through the basin. The Parisii tribe settled right here, on the Ile de la Cité, simply because it was the lowest point where they could reliably cross the water. The Romans soon built a garrison on the muddy banks, but looking at the utilitarian encampment, there was little to suggest it would eventually expand beyond its wooden palisades. Yet as centuries passed, the inhabitants didn't migrate. They piled new limestone over old timber, building Roman temples over Celtic shrines and medieval churches over Roman ruins. The settlement began to endlessly overwrite its own past on the exact same stones. This single footprint in the river became a physical record of the city's refusal to move. Each generation added its own layer of intent, ensuring that the future would be built directly on top of the past. By 1200 CE, the island was a chaotic construction yard. Oxen dragged massive limestone blocks through the muck, while masons spent their entire lives chiseling stone faces they would never see completed. It took 182 years to finish Notre Dame. Funded heavily by local guilds, the cathedral became the physical anchor of medieval identity, a massive collective investment designed to be visible from every direction for miles. By 1793, the civic focus shifted away from the altar and into the streets. Thousands of figures pressed together in the freezing air of the Place de la Révolution. This sprawling open square provided the acreage required for a strict enforcement of ideology. The revolution executed 2,700 people here, using the square as a stage where the ideals of liberty were enforced by the blade of the guillotine. The city's physical spaces had evolved. Monuments of spiritual devotion were being replaced by engineered open stages for projecting political power. In the 1860s, Baron Georges-Eugène Haussmann deployed a calculated campaign against the old stones, leveling roughly 12,000 structures in just 17 years. This vector map details the central layout Haussmann inherited. For centuries, residents lived stacked on top of each other in a labyrinth of medieval alleys where sunlight rarely reached the pavement. Watch how the new design forces its way in. Haussmann's plans sliced directly through the history to create wide, straight avenues. This allowed the military to maneuver to control urban riots, while simultaneously flooding the streets with light. The scale of these cuts generated the grand, open geometry that defines the modern city today. A few decades later, at the Champ de Mars in 1888, just 300 workers began assembling 18,000 pieces of heavy iron. They built a lattice from the sky down, thrusting raw industry directly into the clouds. Through calculated demolition and the assembly of iron, these engineers proved that a capital could mandate a rigid order and emerge as a symbol of modernity. But massive avenues and iron towers only matter if they support the people beneath them. On the wet pavements of Saint-Germain-des-Prés in the 1940s, the monumental scale narrows to a single round table. At places like the Café de Flore, the price of a single morning espresso bought you a chair and the right to debate philosophy or exist in public for as long as you wanted. The café democratized the right to think. We see this same adaptability at the Canal Saint-Martin. Originally ordered by Napoleon as a utilitarian waterway to supply clean drinking water, its iron footbridges and stone locks now anchor a modern creative district. Across its footprint, the capital continually reclaims its past. It takes industrial canals and stone riverbanks and weaves them into the fabric of modern livability. 2 millennia of building on a single river crossing suggests that the way a city is designed determines the quality of the life lived within it,